CV on the screen, and we're going to get a bit more informed about seed coating and treatment.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Good. Okay, so today I'm just going to do a little bit. I'm not going to focus too much on the rhizobia, as I spoke to the organizers when they invited me. I want to actually put the rhizobia in part of the R&D that we're doing on seed applied technology, seed treatments and coatings and things like that. So it's going to be more in general, and also to show you maybe where it fits in. And when we look at the seed applied technology, you know, we can look at a specific product, but at the end it must also fit into the whole seed applied technology in a lot of ways. So I'm going to talk general about seed coating and treatment. And as I say, you know, in Corteva, for us, it's one of the tools that we have in the toolbox when we go to the farmers and the producers. And it's so we come really with a full package, and the seed applied technology supports the others as well. So when we're talking about the complete packages, what is in the seed, so breeding the crop, breeding the soybeans, bringing in the traits that we know that are currently in the soybean and also in the maize crops. So the biotech part. And then on the farm, you know, crop protection, digital agronomy, that plays a big part of this complete package that we then also bring. But a third big portfolio for us really sits on the seed and in the seed applied technology. And obviously Corteva is a seed company, or have seed brands, but they're also a crop protection company. And I think that makes it very nice that the fact that you can develop your own crop protection products and then put it onto your own seed brands as well. And you can also send it to third-party seed companies who can use your technology. So I think we all realize how important the R&D is these days, and the fact that we can't get away from innovation. We constantly have in our world growing with farmers with increasing pressure changes such as the weather, pests and diseases. And I think, you know, even recently we were at the plant pathology conference, and the theme was so big in terms of climate change and how that affects the whole pest spectrum and disease spectrum and things like that. And even something like rhizobia. So I think it's just critical that we constantly innovate and bring new products to the market. So for ourselves, we do have a lot of emphasis focus in terms of soybeans in the seed applied technology space as well. I cannot share too much on the pipeline specifically, but I can tell you that we are doing a lot of work on the biologicals and specifically biostimulants, stress type of products and things like that. Nematicides really a big factor. So when we also look at our crop protection development pipeline, it's not only what you apply in a furrow, whatever, but whenever we develop a new active ingredient, we immediately look at it if there is an application in seed applied technology as well. And then fungicides and insecticides, often as your base seed treatments in the crop. So we really, as I say, our disciplines really spans from herbicides, insecticides, nematicides, fungicides, and then biologicals, biostimulants, and the digital. And today, really, what we are talking about a little bit is the seed applied treatment in all those portfolios that I've mentioned. This is an interesting slide to me because it also shows you the development of any of these new active ingredients that we work with. And I'm sure my colleagues here from MBFI and others, Rhizobacter, will probably come up with a similar type of number, that if you develop a new product, bringing it to the market, that's really what it takes for us, around 10 to 13 years to take a product right through from the discovery phase up to commercialization. And in hard chemistry, this means something around $300 million dollars now. That is I think that figure was in 2017. So it's around 300 million now to bring a new product to the market. And I think the message that I want to give with that is also that when we work with these new active ingredients products, it's also important that we look after them in a sustainable way. We cannot afford to bring a new product to the market and lose it within 1 or 2 years. So it's whenever we now work with these products, is how are we going to use them in a sustainable way, and how are we going to do resistance management in terms of active ingredients, that they support each other, but that we don't lose them within a quick span of time. So in terms of R&D, as I say, our soybean pests and diseases, there are quite a few that we are focusing on, and I think for the purpose of today, really soil and seed-borne diseases. We're all familiar with your Pythiums, Phytophthora, Rhizoctonias, Fusariums, and things like that. Various soil insects. Nematodes, really a big growing portfolio. You can just see everybody is doing these surveys on nematodes, where they are, in which regions, and ways of combating them. And then inoculants, I think the topic of the day. There are other speakers here with a lot more knowledge on that topic than myself. And then things like polymers, just the colorants and polymers, and how we actually keep those chemicals on the seed and protect it as well. And at the end, and I think Jonathan also mentioned about this, for us, and this is really why I'm bringing in the bigger picture of the compatibility, because we can test something in isolation, but if something else affects its efficacy, then it means nothing. So it's all about constantly doing the compatibility work between all those type of products that we add to the seed. And we know seed treatments really in soybeans and the other crops, it's to me one of the most sustainable, environmentally friendly type of crop protection applications that you can do, because it's so directed at the target site, at the particular pest and disease, and it's not a broadcast. And I think Johan, my colleague sitting here, is going to address a little bit of that in his talk, so I'm not going to say too much of that, but really I think to me the benefit is quite huge in that. And it allows for a couple of things. And one of the focus areas in soybeans, for instance, is instead of doing the overseeding, high plant populations in soybeans, by adding a decent seed treatment product, you can actually reduce your plant population in soybeans and still get those same yields, and still get that same yield stands as well. And I think that is critical. I mean, seed is also have a huge cost, so that also plays a big role in that. If you can actually balance your seed treatment costs with maybe your seed population and things like that, it makes a big difference. So really, and the other thing, seed treatment and all of these things, we must always see them as an insurance. So, and the difference between that and a regular crop protection product that you apply. Crop protection, you apply when there's a problem. Seed apply, you apply it for in case there's going to be a problem. And we never know what's going to be there, how the conditions are going to be changed. But you have to be ready, and you have to have that insurance out there for it. And as I mentioned earlier, the cost of these products and resistance management, active ingredients, and specifically against pests like Pythium and Phytophthora. There we know the actives in there are extremely sensitive. We're constantly seeing changes in the pathogen populations, and we have to manage that. Just one that's been on the radar that I just do a quick mention, and is maybe a sudden death syndrome. It came up a couple of years ago. Sandra Lamprecht and her team actually found a pathogen in South Africa, which is really a US pathogen and linked to the soybean cyst nematode. But they also found the pathogen in South Africa, and we actually did a paper on this, finding it and confirming Fusarium virgiliforme in South Africa as a seed or root pathogen. But later, we turned it around a little bit and found that it's not virgiliforme, but actually a different species of Fusarium. But still, the threat is out there. It is maybe of a lower importance than the regular SDS that they have in the US, but still a Fusarium that we have to take a note of. And I think where something like a seed apply technology can play a big role. I also already spoke about the nematode focus. Yeah, absolutely. I think this in the bean crops and the soybean crops, it's one of the biggest threats that we do have, maybe neglected a lot over the last years, but an important one, and where we place a lot of emphasis on now. And I really see a lot of interesting things coming through in our pipeline as well. Okay. And then, yeah, as I say, in the complete package, before I finish off, we obviously, as a company, we develop our own seed treatment products, but we also do a lot of work with third-party products. So we do work with the Syngentas and the Bayers and those companies, and we look at the best products. And whenever we do these products, we don't only, they do the research and they do the registrations on those products, but we still have to validate these products in-house and to see, especially if you start looking at the compatibility of these products. So these are some of them, maybe not all of them, but just to give you an indication of what we are looking at and where we're trying to find the best combinations that can go onto the seed. And for us particularly, if we can do it in our factories on the seed already. And then, yes, we have been working a lot with specifically the elite product from MBFI as an inoculant. The debate on WB74 has been out there for many years. We looked at a lot of things, worked with Rhizospacter, and so, yes, we have been working with elite up to now, but maybe, Johan, you can mention a little bit more in terms of our factory-applied seed treatments and how that is going to play out. So that, with me, is just to setting the scene of maybe some of the R&D work that we're doing, and then I'm going to hand over to Johan now to take us across into whatever we do in R&D, how we also support that into the industry and how we do that. So, Johan, thank you.
Thanks, Rikus, and thanks for this opportunity. So I'm Janse from Rensburg, Seed Applied Technology Manager for Africa, Middle East. And part of my responsibility is to develop and launch the new technologies for Corteva, but also looking at the best solution in the market for our genetics. So when we look at seed treatment, it's all about giving your crops a head start. That early establishment is key towards success in the end. And when we have an overview of seed treatment in general, now seed applied technology is applied directly to the seed, precisely where and when it's needed. In other words, it is the quickest means to reach and control threats to your crop health and yield in the end. And this also means that the products are active in the root zone, and the exposure to our farmers, beneficial insects, and the environment is very limited. Now, when we go over and we have a look at what is the benefits for the grower, we all know that the investment that the farmer makes in terms of buying seed, fertilizer, it's ridiculously expensive. But we need to protect that investment of the seed, and seed treatment can support with that. It helps with earlier planting, plant stand establishment and vigor, and also it protects against early pests and diseases. When we look at the health and environmental benefits, so it reduces the need to handle the chemicals directly, it reduces the rate of active ingredients we require to apply, and it also reduces the potential for less foliar applications. So in the end, possibility of saving cost. Now, looking at what type of technology we can apply to the seed, it's quite wide. So we need to look at and understand what is the on-farm challenges that the farmers are experiencing and try to address that with the different solutions that you can find. We've got fungicides, pnematicides, biological dye colorants, polymers, inoculants, and insecticides. So it's a very broad scope of technology that we can take to the farmer and address those challenges directly. So in 2014, a study has been done to showcase seed treatment involves the exposure of active ingredient to 58 squares of soil surface in comparison to 500 square meters for in-furrow application and 10,000 squares for broadcast spray. So it is very safe for us to say that we can do a lot more with less, as seed treatment only takes 1% in comparison to a broadcast spray. Now, Corteva, the seed applied technology in Africa, Middle East is one of the new platforms within Corteva, and it's a very big drive for us to make sure we put the best solution out to address the on-farm challenges, but also to make sure that these chemicals doesn't affect our gene lineup that we do have. So Corteva has invested in a center for seed apply technology, and this is an all-in-one facility that it has a laboratory where we do the whole combinations of these different recipes together. We have a testing center where we go through vigorous testing on these different compatibilities, etc. And then we also have the treatment facility where we upscale these treatments to make sure it works in real-world conditions. So by having this facility available in South Africa, we can support the whole AME region to basically complement our seed technology gene pool. We also do careful evaluation of various treatment combinations and product concept combinations to develop the right seed treatment formulations for that genetics that we do have. And then the most critical piece is to solve that on-farm challenges that we do have. Now, when we go a bit more into details and what is important of seed apply technology, it's all about what we see there on your right-hand side: appearance, flowability, abrasion, dust-off, and compatibility. And this is the key for any seed treatment to be successful on your genetics or seed. So application support related to those few topics, it's all about pre-commercial evaluation, and we call that process a passive process. And we'll go into details in my next slide. We've got a plantability test, stewardship support, and seed safety, where we look at germination and vigor. Now, the passive process is a 6-step evaluation process where we thoroughly evaluate any seed treatment before we can commercialize it. So we've got plantability, application, seed safety, stewardship, efficacy, and regulatory. And it's all about the product development. It goes to the laboratory where we test it, and then it goes onto the seed before it goes out to the field. It's all about giving that encompassing solution to the farmer, as Rikus has mentioned in his slide. Now, when we look at the plantability testing, we've got this Maxmeter Ultra stand. We actually have the choice to test different planter heads on this equipment with the different seed treatments that we do apply, and the whole key of this is to determine the number of inaccuracies that we do experience due to the different seed treatments that we do apply. So we can look at singulation, double seed drops, and determine what we need to address those specific challenges. Now, stewardship is absolutely one of the key aspects for us because we don't want to impact the environment, and one of those key things, as we can see, that is unacceptable. We don't want any dust off, our exposure to our farmers, the insects, the guys who need to handle the seed. We need to make sure it is within the requirements and adheres to the safety. Furthermore, our stewardship support can also help our conditioning facilities and the farmers with PPE suggestion, chemical handling advice, and then also support the seed production plants with audits to ensure we comply. Now, seed safety is a very key aspect of this whole passive process because anything that we do in the end shouldn't affect the germination and the vigor of that seed. The farmer buys the seed to get maximum out of that investment, and part of that is any new treatment that we launch or bring to the market mustn't affect that to bring down the yield for that farmer. Now, seed safety test is also done, so once that treatment combination is understood, developed, and applied to the seed, we go across a 2-year process where that seed is tested for germination and vigor every 3 months to understand what is the deterioration that we are experiencing on that specific genetics. And some hybrids we experience are more sensitive than others, and therefore we need to address it differently. Now, regulatory, it is sometimes not the most fun process to go through, but it's the most critical. We cannot bring any product to the market without going through the regulatory process. It is a time-consuming process, but it is there to control everything that is going into the market and ensuring that we apply and comply to the rules and regulations. So, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.